Hi, this is Majinoni, and here's my overview for the Fullmetal Alchemist manga series. Now that it's finished in the US, I figured now would be the time to do an overview review of the series. Now, for those of you who don't know, Fullmetal Alchemist is primarily the story of two brothers, Ed and Al, and they're both alchemists, and what they did was they did some bad things when they were younger. Their mother died, and what they try to do is they try to bring her back to life, and using alchemy, the basic rule to alchemy is the law of equal exchange, meaning, if you wanted to create something, you have to give something. So, and then the number one rule that they have is you don't bring back the dead. So, not only did they break the rule, they didn't quite have the right stuff to bring her back. She kind of came back as this zombie-ish creature thing, and as a result of it, Al's body is gone, and Ed's missing body parts. Now, Ed is able to use his alchemy, and what he basically does is he fuses the spirit of his brother in a suit of armor, and their journey begins type thing. Now, for the most part, they kept what they did a secret, but people kind of start figuring out what's going on along the way. Now, they are met with other alchemists. There's alchemists from another country, and I thought that was actually a really nice touch, showing you that there was something else on the other side of the world type thing. And so it was something new, something mysterious. It's something that didn't quite follow the normal laws of the traditional alchemists. The society that they basically lived in is a militaristic one. You had your king, ruler. You had the alchemists would become soldiers, and they would fight for their country. And there was a lot of battle strife, and in a way, you can almost say there was like a theme of, why can't we just get along? You had another group of people, and basically, the army wanted to King Bradley wanted to just streamroll them, kill them all type thing. It was almost genocidal. And in a way, you could almost take that and use it in mirroring what's going on in the United States with the West and then the Middle East, in a sense, especially since they were from in areas that were more desert, and their skin color, things like that. Along the way, as the story progresses further, they learn about the Philosopher's Stones, and the Philosopher's Stones, basically, it's the key to unlocking the secrets of the universe, so to speak. Now, as you can see here, the art is really, really good. It's manga style, but I think in a sense it's very user friendly to males and females, and it doesn't really polarize too many people, just from being either too aggressive or too angular or too soft. The characters are really enjoyable for the most part. The ones you like, the ones you're supposed to like, you like. The ones you don't, that you're supposed to hate, you definitely hate. And there's a lot of interesting things that are going on with alchemy. And there's creatures that are created. There's these beings I almost said Ivy. Envy, lust, greed, and basically they're beings that epitomize that particular emotion, and they're extremely, extremely difficult to beat. Now, one might think that King Bradley was the main villain early on in the story, but I will say this, even though it's a minor spoiler, he's not. While he is a villain, he's not the top villain, and because the top villain basically wants to destroy everything. And I thought the battle with Bradley was kind of anticlimactic. Bradley didn't really show a lot of emotion. I mean, he has emotions and things like that, but he never got really overly excited or showed excessive anger, things like that. So, he really couldn't get that involved into it. At least the main villain, I thought showed much more personality for what his goals were, what he tried to do. Even though it was still, like, in a sense, he was God looking down on an ant, at least I felt that he showed more emotion along the way. Now, out of all the side villains, one of my favorites was Greed. And Greed, I think the reason why I like Greed the most is because he's the only one that really showed, in my opinion, personality growth. He was still Greed. He still wanted to get everything he could. But there's a moment at the end of his storyline which actually, I guess you can say, it would have given him hope as a character type thing. Now, the ending I thought was really, really strong. A lot of times in mangas, they don't end the story well because, they have to wrap things up quickly, or they can't finish all their loose ends. But I thought in the case of Full Metal Alchemist, they did a really good job at tying everything up. Now, granted, they still left you with new stories to springboard on, but in those cases, it's basically that road ended and something new started. So I don't mind that at all. I think there's actually, the way this thing ended, I would say I would love to see them traveling, or I would love to see stories in the different kingdoms to see how those people lived and how they used magic and things like that, or alchemy. And so I think as a whole, what they succeeded in the story was a much more thought up, much more fleshed out world, rather than it just takes place like in Tokyo, or it just takes place in New York, or something to that effect. This really had, in a sense, a global... I mean, you didn't see the entire globe, but you saw how other parts of the world lived, or at least their thought process, a little bit of it. And I thought that was a really strong selling point for me. It was one of those things I didn't notice as I was reading it, but once I started to get towards the end of the book, or the series, that's when I noticed, you know what? That actually is really... It's like they started to make things more interesting. The characters became more... I don't want to say more real, but they became much more, like, in depth. They had more depth to it. The end, along the lines with the ending, I'm not going to ruin everything, but I guess one thing I can say without spoiling too much is they did a great job at hitting all the right points to make it a true heroic ending. And along the way, there's some twists and turns, and again, everything goes back to certain characteristics of equal exchange, being, basically being giving, not taking, not being selfish. And overall, I'm sure I can probably spend hours nitpicking, oh, this could have been better, that could have been better, the fight over here could have been really good, like, this character design, while it's okay, could it be better? Sure, it could be a lot better. Make it more evil looking, little things like that, sure. But I think as a whole, I really enjoyed it. And even the romance angle, or side stories that are in this book, while they're there, and to some people they may not like it in the sense because they're not giving you enough of it, I thought they did a lot with what they had. Anytime Ed and Winry met, even though they didn't, like, a lot of their meetings didn't take, like, chapters and all this melodrama of should I kiss him, should I not, does he love me, does she love me nonsense, even though you didn't get all of that what was said, what was spoken, and what was done between those two characters was enough to convey their emotions towards each other, and you didn't need a lot of the extra fluff around it. So I thought that was a home run with that. Now, I don't have the last volume here, but there's 27 volumes, and there's, I believe, at least 2 novels. There's the 2 TV series. There's the regular Fullmetal Alchemist. There's the Brotherhood. There's OVAs in the movies. I would strongly recommend do not watch the first Fullmetal Alchemist series. It's utter garbage. It's filler. You get little pieces of the manga and then filler, and they treat filler as main story. Don't watch that. Watch Brotherhood. Brotherhood is more along the lines of what you're going to get in the manga. I haven't seen all of Brotherhood, but I can imagine it's not the entire manga series, because otherwise Brotherhood would be a lot longer. And keep in mind, you might still get all the key parts. You're just not getting every part, which I think is fine. And because I think there are things you could probably trim out of this book in terms of an animated format to make the story flow better and faster. But regardless, Brotherhood, from what I've seen, is solid. It was entertaining. There will be strong emotional moments at the beginning where you are going to despise certain characters, and I'm not going to ruin who those people are, since knowing who those people are, if you haven't seen it, it's going to spoil what's going to happen. But I will say, there's some evil people in this book. Really, truly evil. There's some very, very cool people, and people who will rise to being a true hero type thing. And these are people who, are self-sacrificing. They will do anything for their cause. And I don't mean that as a bad thing in a sense, because they're trying to, they have their own cause, which may or may not agree with the main heroes, but they're willing to do whatever it takes for their common good. And I can appreciate characters that are like that, who are sticking to their guns and will do what needs to be done. So anyways, I rambled a little bit about the anime and stuff, but what I will say again, Fullmetal Alchemist was really enjoyable. Right now, actually, I have to figure out what I'm going to do with them. I'm going to keep these, but it's time to move them off my bookcase and put something new in its place. And this has been a very, very long journey since the first volume came out. And I know Viz jacked us all up along the way by releasing volumes late and things like that, but I understand that scheduling and stuff. That's beyond everybody's control. But if you haven't picked it up, I would highly recommend picking it up. It's only $10 a volume, and then look at those. You get a lot of story per volume. And it reads pretty fast. And I don't think you'll be disappointed when it's done, since this is one of the better ones. Anyways, if you have any comments or questions, let me know. I would like to know who your favorite characters are in the story, and let me know. And I'll have more reviews up later, so until next time.